mostly days, actually, starting about midday and going on through. But
we hired all these minis.
yeah,
It was brilliant. We had like this convoy of like the new boiled sweet coloured minis. And what did you have? You had a red one with a Union Jack on it.
yeah.
And it was like the Italian job. And like I had one with the Stars and Stripes on, so I figured that could be a bit safer. And then we had another one as well, and then a couple of Range Rovers. So we were sort of ambassadors for sort of, well, German car companies, really, I suppose. But it was like ambassadors from Oxford. And we'd all leave the studio, come back in convoys, like driving down Sunset. And there'd be like this Austin Powers sort of retro convoy. It was brilliant.
But in terms of, working hours as well, I mean, it's kind of very much led by wanting to actually complete a track in a day. It's that kind of fix for the cut-off time, really.
Yeah. So Ed had a magnolia-coloured Volvo convertible, so everyone took the piss out of him and said it was a hairdresser's car. But it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the car side of the record.
That's the car side of it.
Phil kind of looked like one of those sort of Bond villains behind this sort of smoke bulletproof glass and surrounded by fairy lights because he was in a sort of separate room which we could all see. So
I'm not bitter, actually, but when I walked into the studio, the main studio was set up beautifully. Plants everywhere, fairy lights. And I was in the broom cupboard, practically.
Yeah, well, we could all see him seething through this sort of tobacco-stained glass. It was brilliant. So we were thinking of flooding it and like having sharks swim past and things. It would have been great.
I'm sure it's just, it was kind of like just psyching me out, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Those brutal performances.
Yeah, putting you in your place. Yeah, no, it was great. It was a great big 50s room, and to sort of cow you in there were these black and white photographs of Nat King Cole and Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin all singing into the same like 1940s German microphones they're still using there. So and then we were in there too, so it was great.
Yeah, we were very much into like getting the sound of people in a room on this record, and the sounds of things off mic and all that sort of stuff, and just a kind of, in a weird way, kind of celebration of going back out on the road with Kid A and Amnesiac, which was such incredibly seriously studio records, and then learning to play them live and getting all that, getting something off that, and just wanting to bring that back in the studio. And it was very much, there was very little analysis or mandate or, we're going to do this and this is how it's going to be. When we went into the studio, we played a lot of these songs live, ready to go in, and everything. We'd gone out on tour, and everything was geared towards these sessions, and it was interesting. It was sort of something that stuck in my mind from what Johnny said about he got I think, I can't remember what record it was, but it was a Smiths record, and it was like I think it was an initial session for Hatful of Hollow or something. I think they recorded Hatful of Hollow BBC, didn't they? But there was another session of it or something before that. I'm not quite sure. But basically, it was scary because it was note for note exactly the same. It was just the sounds were a little bit different, but the whole record was basically the same. And obviously, us being big Smiths fans, that had quite a big effect on us. But we remembered sort of doing something kind of vaguely like that on OK Computer as well. But yet we'd sort of learned to play differently. So I think all those sort of things added up, really. It was very much geared towards just, okay, you've got this day to do this track and go in and do it. And no more analysis, no more middle-age crisis, no more, you don't have time, got families now, got to get home quick, come on, get it done, get out of here. And it was very good for us, really. I don't have time these days to like sit down and analyse what I'm doing, so I just get on with it and go few, which is been very good for me, actually. I think tend to tear things apart before they're even written.
I think it's quite a vocal-led record.
It's totally.
I think on the last two records we've done, Thom was getting bored of the sound of his voice, or not bored even, but was just frustrated with how it was, in a way, how it was just doing the one thing, and was experimenting with what else you can do with a human voice in a way.
There's a reaction to OK Computer that he kind of got himself into. I think he felt he got himself in some kind of cul-de-sac on that one, because he was Thom Yorke, and he was being labelled as all his lyrics are about his plight, his suffering or whatever, and he had to find something else, and he had to look externally, and that's what that Kid A Amnesiac, why you don't see the lyrics published or whatever, because he was the uncertainty. He said trying to find the vocals. It's interesting what he was listening to beforehand. That he was listening to. Apparently, he said he listened to a lot of Mahalia Jackson, and he was really struck by the way that a voice could be that kind of musical instrument. From our point of view, it was so obvious from day one. We went into the studio, and the voice, he was so relaxed. There was none of, here we are making our next record, whereas it was all about, he was very calm, and he was just singing amazingly.
You could just hear how his throat is so open, and it's really rich sound, and because he's relaxed.
Because he's relaxed, totally relaxed, and that kind of confidence, and he just, he was probably refinding his voice and
enjoying it.
Enjoying it, yeah.
It just felt as though there were singles on this record, though. It's Kid A just didn't feel like the kind of record that you could present in that way, and I don't think we were in the right place, emotionally or whatever, to actually kind of put together the approach that we're doing at the moment. But everything's always led by what we have recorded, and with this record, as we've been going through it, we felt that there have been tracks on there which all along which could be, would have potential as a single. It's, as with every record, it's following, what is the most appropriate thing for this, for what we've recorded.
Not that many.
Two or three.
You can mention Lift, yeah.
There's a whole pile of songs that we just that
we had the intention of. We played it last year live, didn't we?
Yeah. There's a lot of songs like that people are fond of, Nude, and we're fond of them too. It's like, but the time has. People have been talking about I Will for 3 years, 4 years, and now we've recorded it, and it's great, and it's out. So
yeah,
we think about it all the time too. Songs like that, but.
And Lift was a song that, we did a different type of version of Lift.
We did a bad version of it.
But it's not good. The spirit of the song was there in '96. It was kind of like when it was first done, it was Radiohead doing their Design for Life. It was that kind of epic song. And it's not, we're not in that place at the moment. So, maybe it will happen. You never know. No. Every record that we make, we could not have made it the previous year or the year after. The thing about, for better or worse about us as a band is that, emotionally we're pretty honest. You can tell with us, when you hear our records, you can actually tell where our emotional, mental and spiritual, what state that they're all in. So this completely, and it's, Leckie taught us that, John Leckie taught us that on the Bends, and he said, an album should be just literally a sort of an aural snapshot of a band at a given time, and it's totally true. Now, like on Kid A and Amnesia, that was expanded over basically a year and a bit, but the whole state of the band did not change within that year. So it's totally of its time, and we won't make another record like this, that's for sure. And we know that every time we make a record, because you've got, the thing about making a record is it's not just, what songs that you're presented, there are so many, there's so many infinite permutations of how a record can, this record would have sounded like this if we decided to record it in, Berlin in Hans Aton Studios for 6 weeks. It wouldn't be as warm as that. It reflects the fact that it was started in LA. The sun was shining in September. We were in that studio for 2 weeks. It's all these little things adds. They add it's the character. It's the kind of the makeup of each record.
On paper, touring should be an absolutely incredible experience, really, shouldn't it? You do get to play live, you do get that direct feedback. Essentially, that privileged position of doing what you love and travelling to all these wonderful places.
It's much easier to tell you when we didn't enjoy it. That's quite straightforward, really. Which was, I mean, for me, it was like touring with like REM in these huge places. I mean, they were really nice, but the bus drove into these sort of 60,000 indoor baseball arenas, and with a sort of lone bird fluttering up in the top, unable to escape, and you didn't get any light, and you were like, there was like a 2-kilometre ring of concrete car park around you, and the nearest town was like 12 miles away, and it was just terrible. So that kind of thing's not good. It all sounds like a bad Pink Floyd album copy, but the rest of it was brilliant. Like getting off on a bus in the middle of like some cool part of town, and there's a coffee shop and a record shop and people who are like, it's great.